Hey everybody, I'm here with our October market update for Trent Hills. We will look at Northumberland as a whole, but we are going to just kind of focus in on Trent Hills and what is going on and what I'm seeing. Um, from let's just start with the Northumberland um, Northumberland update, which I'm just going to read it because it's just mumbo jumbo that I cannot memorize. So, Northumberland County's average selling price rose to 712,876, marking a 6.16% month over month increase and a 3.15% year over year gain. The region also realized a gain in recorded sales of 137, up from 129 last month and 117 in October of 2024. New listings climbed to 295 compared to 253 last year, with homes spending an average of 43 days on market, up slightly from 38 days. So this is positive. Although lots of media are saying that the market is crap, if your home isn't priced right, yes, the market looks like it's crappy, but you have to align the value with where the market is at currently. And it's just the reality of it. So let's take a quick look at the Trent Hills numbers here. Um, and I know that you guys probably can't see that super well, but basically sales are down from 36 to 21 in Trent Hills. This is specific to Trent Hills. The average price rose. The active number of listings dipped slightly from last month. So the active listings we're at right now is 131, whereas last month we were at 145. So it's not super different, excuse me. And then our average days on market went down dramatically. So we went from an average days on market of 70 days down to 43. So what that tells me is agents are doing their part in explaining to their sellers what is happening with the market and how you essentially need to align the value of your home with the market and what the market is doing. Basically, when I am pricing a home, I am looking at the most recent properties that have sold that are similar to yours, because that gives us a bit of a foundation to work off of. I've said it before, if your neighbor sold for 500,000 and your house is basically a carbon copy, you can't expect to get 6.25 or 600,000 for it. It's the market has, has built that foundation, unfortunately, for you. So we have to be realistic with how we're pricing our properties. And it just goes to show that the properties that are selling are not on the market that long, truthfully. You're a little bit over a month, and sometimes it takes a couple of weeks to kind of get your bearings and figure out, you know, are we priced right? Because oftentimes, there's not a lot of other houses on the market. So sometimes there's not much of a foundation for us to go off of, and we have to kind of do some creative strategies in regards to like where we feel as though we need to be priced at. And sometimes, after 2 or 3 weeks, we've had no showings, we've had no inquiries, we've had nothing. That usually tells me that we need to bring it down a bit. We need to make an adjustment to the price. If you are getting showings and you are getting inquiries, but your feedback is, they like the house, it's just too much money, then that feedback is really good. You want to be able to get people through the door to give you feedback, because ultimately the buyers out there that are shopping are coming up with the price of your home, and they are basically laying that foundation as to what they're willing to pay for your house. So that is good information to have. And like I said, sometimes it takes a week or two to figure that out, and making adjustments fairly quickly to match the fact that you don't want to be that rotten banana on the shelf. When you're a brand new listing on the market, you are a beautiful ripe banana that everybody that's shopping is going to be focused on and be attracted to. After a couple of weeks, you start to brown and you start to, that brightness sort of fades, and that's what happens with your house on the market. So we want to make sure that when you're listing your property, you're launching it properly in the sense that you're doing proper marketing, the strategy is there, the marketing dollars are being spent on eyeballs getting onto the listing and making sure that everybody in the vicinity and abroad are seeing your listing, and everything is available to the buyers that they need to be able to make an informed decision as to whether or not they do want to come and see your house. Having all of those extras available for the buyers is really, really good. And what I mean by that is utility bills, having those costs to run your house, having that available to buyers is very, very beneficial to them. So it's good for them to know how much is water, how much is hydro, how much is gas. That is going to factor in, especially if they're first time home buyers, that is going to factor into their affordability. So you're going to want to do that. If you have a survey that of the property, if you can make that available to anybody that's interested, your agent should be asking these questions and they should be gathering all of this information from you right at the beginning before your house is listed. This is like pre-list preparation. If you have any past home inspections, I like to recommend doing a home inspection prior to listing so that it's informative to you as the seller to ensure that you're not getting any surprises when a buyer comes through to do a home inspection. But if you've had a home inspection in the last few years, or when you purchased the home, not much has changed. Generally, that home inspection will be beneficial to buyers who are interested in your property. If you are on a well or a septic system, having those reports, if you have them available to the buyers, is very helpful. Well records, flow rates. When was the septic last pumped? That is a good one to have. If you've had it pumped in the last year or two, just have the receipt available, because that's something that a buyer normally asks for at the end of their, like on closing. They usually ask for that to be pumped, but if it's been a year or so, it's probably not necessary. So having that available is useful. And then any type of rental contracts that you have, if your hot water tank is a rental, if you have a reverse osmosis, those kinds of things, you should be gathering all of those things for your realtor to have available to buyers. Now, of course, I have all of my information available to buyers without them having to nag their realtor to ask for all of the attachments. It's a bit of a nuisance, sort of, when the public on realtor.ca can't access those things very easily. They literally need to connect with a real estate agent to have access to that. With my digital listing packages, literally you go to forsalewithme.ca, click on the listing that you're interested in, and you will literally have everything available to you that any realtor has, that anybody has, right at your fingertips. And it is not a lead generation program. So you don't have to give me your arm, your leg, your email, your phone number, all of those things to gather that information. It is just readily available for you. So that was a bit of a side note, but that's very valuable information if you are getting ready to sell your house. I'm just going to go back just for 1 second to the Trent Hills stats here. So for October, in order to figure out what the months of inventory is, and the months of inventory basically says if no more houses were listed today and we had to sell everything off, it would take X amount of months to sell everything off. So that's the amount of months of inventory, what that means. And right now, so how you figure that out is you take the number of active listings. So this number here, active listings, which is 131, and you divide that by the number of sales that happened, which was 21. So you divide 131 by 21, and that gives you 6.2. So that actually goes into the buyer's market. So that actually shows that we're in a buyer's market right now. Last month it was balanced because the months of inventory was lower. But right now we're sitting on a buyer's market. So that is, it is what it is. It fluctuates every single month. But essentially, if buyers are out there shopping right now, they have more options. They have more availability to negotiate their deal, and to negotiate, the price of the house and whatnot. Is it, the best time for a seller? You don't have as much say necessarily, when there's more inventory available, but it's all about how you present your property and the marketing and the strategy behind everything. That is such an important part. Um, but I did pull some additional information that I thought you might find interesting, which I just pulled it for today. And since October 1st, we have had 33 properties in Trent Hills sell. So whoever is telling you, the market is dead, it is not a good time to sell, I disagree. If you're ready to sell and you need to sell or you're ready to sell, it's a great time to put your property on the market. If you are going to align your property, if you're going to align the price of your property with the market, chances are you're probably going to sell in under 2 months. Like it says, the average days on market right now is 43 days. So it's, every situation is different. Everybody wants different things. Expectations are different. But since October 1st, that's a good amount of properties being sold. And there are some properties that have sold in the over the million mark, near the million mark. And so that is, that is positive for our community. And I think I mentioned too recently that in a different video on Instagram or Facebook, that the springtime isn't necessarily the best time to sell. So if you're waiting until spring, that may not be the best option for you. And the reason is because everybody waits until the spring to sell. And so if you're going to be one of many in the spring, that means buyers just have more opportunity to negotiate the price down, and basically just negotiate more. And it doesn't really give you the upper hand in those cases where everybody is on the market in the spring. And yes, if you're waiting because there's not really a whole lot that you're interested in, and you're waiting for spring because you have to sell and you have to buy, there are strategies behind that too, where you can sell, but you can have a prolonged closing, or you can put in a condition that the seller finds suitable accommodation. So you're not left homeless and you're left in control of the situation. Um, so that's just something to keep in mind. Usually during this time of the year, people who are selling are serious sellers, and serious buyers. So there's always people, and I mention this all the time, there's always people divorcing, there's always people passing away, there's always people having babies, and there's always new first time home buyers that are finally getting their first pre-approval. And it doesn't matter when that happens. If they get their pre-approval in December and they're ready to move, then they're going to start house shopping and they're going to start looking for properties. And if they find the right one, then why would they hold off? So it's a really good idea if you are ready to list, just to list. Yes. And then the rotten banana, whole strategy comes in too, because you don't want to be on the market for a super long time. So you have to, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of strategy involved. There's a lot of conversations. There's a lot of listening on the realtor's part to try and figure out what is the best thing to do here. Like, what is the best strategy and how is this going to work out in your favor, on all parts. So that's where we're at with the market. So I do believe that we are still going strong in Trent Hills. We're seeing progression. Prices again are rising. So it's good. And I think a lot of people are attracted to the Trent Hills area because it is a beautiful place. We have a quaint little community that is or communities rather, that are very intimate and just low key and not busy and just slow going, slow paced. I love it here. And I'm sure if you live here, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you don't live here and you're trying to do your research and trying to figure out, do I like, you know, do I want to maybe move to Trent Hills? Um, Tour around, go to some open houses, get a feel for the communities. They're all beautiful, great people. I'm biased because I live here, obviously, but great schools, all those things. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to reach out to me. You can comment below, or you can send me a message. My information is always below in these videos. And if you're living in Trent Hills, you can actually go to trenthillsliving.ca and you will actually have access to all of these stats. Every month I upload all of the new numbers, and you can actually save it to the desktop, like save it to your home screen on your phone. So if you want to have access to it, you can literally just save it to your home screen and look at it each month or whenever you feel like you need to know information about Trent Hills. There's much more in there than just the real estate stats. There's a number of resources there for our communities. So anyways, this was a little bit longer than I anticipated, but hopefully you found value in this video. And I will see you next month when I have another update. Take care.